So yeah, as we start collaging, we can build the collages down here or wherever you've got the collage stuff. And then once we get one to a good place, throw it up by the block so we remember which one it's a part of.
Okay. All right, you guys. So just to let you know, Facebook Live is going now and it's recording, so you're good. So I'll work on adding Mavi and mute myself, and you guys are done at noon.
Great. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I'm
just going to check if we have any attendees. I believe I saw we had one attendee already. So if you have joined, we're currently reviewing the Evernia street corridor, and then we'll be exploring some design options for Datura. Okay, are you in the concept board, Liche? I'm going to jump down to Dixie and Olive on Evernia. Sweet. I see Mavi is in the board. Cool. Okay, so picking up on this block, this one has two active commercial restaurant functions right here. This one's a restaurant, this one's a brewery, and I believe a brew pub that currently uses part of the street for kind of more of a makeshift temporary seating area for people to dine. So there's already like really good precedence on this street for using the street for commercial function. Further down the street, there's a church down here at this corner of Olive and Evernia. And then there is so there's a note about how there's sidewalks and street trees on both sides, but there's kind of a inconsistent amount of space for people to walk, and there's very inconsistent street trees along this block as well. And you can see this block has the angled parking here on the north side, which definitely takes up a lot of space of the block. And this, is this the one with the, yeah, this is the one with the parking garage on the north side of the block. And so there have been comments from folks about exploring options for a some kind of commercial liner on the ground floor of these blocks for the parking garage side, which is right up here. So that could be a huge opportunity to explore. And there's a comment from Britt, a cool idea of trying to extend kind of the tree canopy into the street a bit more. Oh, I see that Mavi's joined, and Mavi, I just made you a panelist, so you should be able to unmute yourself and do video too if you want.
Yes, I'm here, but
Great.
I don't have a camera. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. It's not necessary. Okay, anything you guys wanted to add on this street, or should we keep moving along? Oh, here's the street commerce area I was talking about, where it's already in the street. So they've used planters and all these little fan ponds in there to create like a nice little space. And then there's also additional seating areas kind of on the back side of on the side of the building as well. So there's a real need for some commercial space along there. Okay, let's move down to Olive and Narcissus. So this one has that large residential building on the south side, very tall. And then I believe that one's entirely residential. And then, so there's ground floor retail and then residential on the north side of the street. And there have been comments on this block, the importance for the residences to maintain loading and delivery functions. And I think the desire to like maintain loading areas is a pretty consistent theme for the blocks that have commercial. Okay, and then I think those are all the kind of the main pointers I have on this street. There's a comment about there may be the potential to explore removing street parking on the south side of the street. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to the last one, which is Narcissus to Flagler. So here, there's a couple of things going on here right now. So there's this little kind of island right there of, I think it's just a landscape island where the access from the Narcissus Street parking lot, or Narcissus Street is kind of a parking lot in this location. So there's that little island of landscape space, and then there's this park, which is, I believe, Post Park, which is, there are a few comments that it's underutilized because it doesn't have enough shade. The belief that it doesn't have enough shade and it may not have enough, may not have the necessary programming, but it's also very cut off. This is where the street is kind of at its widest in terms of roadway, because you've got turn lanes and widened lanes. So there's a real disconnect between this little park and the waterfront, and there's also a disconnect between this little park and the concert venue side as well. So I think this block of Narcissus especially, in addition to exploring what we could do on Evernia through here to bridge the gap between the sides of the street, I think we could also explore maybe some way to consolidate these open spaces and maybe make this Narcissus little parking lot feel like less of a barrier for like walking between things. And then similar to like what we were talking about on the Datura side over here, like this is a really important gateway for anyone coming off the waterfront. They don't really have a sense that there's something interesting up this street because you can't even see around the bend there to see up it. So I think just thinking about how people kind of come into that space will be important. Okay, so yeah, there's additional comments for need for shade, not overly programming this space because there's already a lot of programming. Like the park across the street is heavily programmed. Maybe the potential for street closures, like the idea similar to Datura, that if there's a big event or festival, this block could be temporarily closed. Yeah, do you guys think any questions on that one, or do you want to jump over to Datura and start working through it?
No, Marie, do you have any questions?
No,
I think we can start with Datura, no?
Great, let's do it. I'm just gonna copy this, or I'm just gonna delete these little drawings so we can start with a fresh space. Actually, I'm just gonna copy the base over, and I'm gonna move it slightly over to the left if you're looking for it. Okay. I'll expand it. Okay. So if you are attending right now, our team, there's 3 teams going right now, and our team is exploring kind of more of a more extreme kind of departure from the current roadway. We're looking at 2-way roads that potentially have more of a pedestrian plaza or curbless street kind of feel. And then other groups are looking at 1-way streets and 2-way streets that maintain the existing curb line. So ours will be a bit more drastic a change. Just so you know before we start drawing. Okay. So what do you guys think would be the best way to begin working through this? Do you guys think it would be easier to work through collage, or just kind of collectively start drawing notes on the plan?
work through collage, I think.
It's too easy, no? To imagine the...
We can work through collage and
brainstorming while we're walking. Like,
Sí, no sé, I don't know. Or in the plan antes, before.
yeah, maybe we can start thinking what we can do, sketching on the plan, and then we can translate it in the collage.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so feel free to just talk over me or just jump in whenever. I'll just start thinking out loud. Like this seems like a prime opportunity for a street that like feels like I want to create, like it'd be cool to create like this sense that the park just spills across the street, that
Yeah.
there's like no barrier. So I'm wondering, like some kind of curbless street. Oh, that's tiny. That's also tiny. There we go. To really get this little kind of isolated open space feel like it's tying across into that one. And then similarly, or differently, really creating space along this north edge to make it feel like there's that commerce is just, these businesses are just spilling out as well.
Yeah, here maybe the thing is that these two parts can be connected somehow. This block, the final vision could be the one that is totally pedestrian.
Yeah.
So maybe the thing is, how can we connect and where these two lots?
Well, if it's totally pedestrian, we could start by actually rethinking this intersection here at Flegler, like the idea of like a big, whether it's street art or paving, just kind of like a big crossing there. Across.
Across where? Here, no? Yep. So.
The idea could be that this part of the street almost will disappear and it will transform into a plaza.
Yeah,
could
I love
be
that.
like this. So the actual Datura street will start actually here. And this would be like a huge plaza.
Oh, sorry, I was drawing in a different one than you. Sorry, where would Datura Street start? Up here?
Would start here, the part where actually the cars could go.
Okay.
And this could be all, everything could be a plaza. Could be
the only thing
connected.
I'm worried about is these businesses.
You think that they need to have a car access?
I'm wondering about that. I don't know that there's another access. I'm going to jump
here.
over to the big aerial. Oh, on the back side, that's a good point. Let's see, we're looking right there. Yeah, it would seem like there is access from the backside.
Yeah.
It's not great because there's like this little, if you're looking at the what's screen shared on the webinar, like there's this little triangle space that's a little cut off. So that might be a little challenging, but yeah, and then this one, I'm not sure that this lot currently, which I think serves this business, currently has access off of Narcissus. But with those things in mind, let's explore it. So in terms of like, I like this idea of like just like allowing the whole street to function as a pedestrian space. And I wonder if like the sense of arrival or like the sense of gateway could be something like just like the landscape that's like pulling in to the street.
Yeah,
along
also we could have a kind of landmark here, like a real actual gate, something that marks the entrance to the old plaza and the Datura street.
Yeah, I think we lost our aerial map. Here, I'll bring it back.
Disappeared.
I'll bring a copy.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah. What's happening? No.
Sorry, that was me.
I think Don is putting.
I'm trying to. I'm having a little bit of technological issue. Second. Let's see if I can get that back. Okay. Almost got it back. I'm using a tablet, and sometimes the tablet causes concept board to lock up. So I think I'm just screen sharing my desktop right now.
Or we can directly work here.
But
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening.
Are you guys able to be in the board, or is it acting weird for you too? All right. I'm gonna stop sharing, and then I'm gonna reshare my screen. All right, should be good now. All right, back online. Apologies. It's gonna be a few technological hiccups here or there.
Well,
all right.
I'm putting the image back there.
Okay. There's also one to the
Okay. Yeah.
to the left. That's a little bigger, if that's helpful.
no.
Yeah.
All right, looks good. So I locked it, so it can't be deleted. It'll be stuck in there. All right. All right. Yeah. Let's stay on the larger one to the left, just to maintain that. So you're talking about really kicking off Evernia or Datura as like a street, starting at Narcissus. We're talking about a big intersection move across. You're talking about using landscape. Sorry, that's where we left off before the tech issues. What were you saying before, Mavi?
I was thinking about the possible entrance here, with like a kind of landmark.
Yeah.
Could be.
Where, Mavi? I don't see you.
Do you see my mouse?
Over to the left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here.
Yep.
Okay.
We imagine that people will come more from the waterfront than from here, so we could think about a landmark here, something that invites people to enter. And then all this part could be pedestrian, and the Datura street could start here, the actual street where also cars go.
Yeah.
So
just ideas. Could also be that this part, of course, we have to study better to understand if this restaurant needs an access from here or not, or maybe they can have an access from the other part here.
Yeah. Could we, if we needed to, do you think we could maintain it as like, if we do for some reason need to maintain access for the restaurant, we could still maintain it as like limited access only or something like that.
Could be.
yes, and what about the shadow? It's very sunny here, no?
Yes, it's super sunny. Oh, what about like something big, like a big tall canopy or something, whether that canopy is with trees or the canopy could be with lights and textile or something like that.
Climbing plants.
Yeah, that really like, it could be like right in the middle actually. Something that as you're walking down the street this way you could see, but also something as you're walking along the waterfront you would be able to see really clearly.
Yeah, we have some reference here. Maybe I can copy it here so that we can brainstorming.
Yeah.
With some pictures also.
The access to the concert venue park is like the current gateway is like here, this little semicircle. And then this is all, I think, pretty heavily landscaped. If I shoot over to the site photo, it's not super heavily landscaped, but it's heavy enough that I don't know that it would work as an entrance. Oops, on board. So maybe this is even all the way up there to kind of grab that as well.
I'll copy here some references.
I try to copy on the collage too. I can try to.
Here are some textile canopies that I copied.
Oh, great.
Yes. Can you see the pictures that we put here?
Yeah. I love those. I like the one on the one in the middle as just with like kind of that like more random spacing where you could create like a different, depending on where you actually wanted people to like stop and linger, you could create denser shade patterns than areas that were maybe more of for walking through, you could create lighter shade patterns.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it could be interesting also to work on the border, on this kind of, I mean, we don't have to transform this park, but it could be interesting to, you know, to think how this new pedestrian part can relate to this other law.
I'm gonna pull over the existing section so we can kind of draw up on that. So here's a copy of the existing section with the businesses kind of on the left with that constrained sidewalk, and then kind of the palm trees in the park. So it's like, yeah, it's a wide, as far as Datura goes, it's a very wide sidewalk through there, but obviously given the demand, maybe not quite wide enough.
Maybe in this part, the street can be reduced. I mean, the part where the cars can access can be reduced to just one lane, if it's for the commerce and the restaurants and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe from 4 can become 1. I don't know.
So maybe like throughput is just a single lane.
Or maybe moved to the left, more close to the shops. Not centered. And this part on all the plaza can invade this part.
Yeah. I also want to, though, provide ample space for like umbrellas and seating out here potentially. It looks like there is kind of like the further west restaurant business doesn't really have space for street seating at all, and then the one closer to Flegler does. It has like a big outdoor patio area, but like we saw in the picture over here to the right, like there's these little like pop-up milkshake, it looks like. Nope.
Yep.
Some little pop-up something. And so people clearly just kind of come here, gather here, eat here. So it'd be
This
nice
could
to
be increased, be improved.
What? Sorry, what's that?
I mean, an aspect, I mean, that people is going there to with food trucks and stuff could be also improved and could be exploited, putting a space where these kind of food trucks or small commerce could go,
Yeah.
and where people can, I don't know, eat their ice cream, but
Yeah.
with a shadow, not like that.
Totally. Okay, so maintaining maybe one lane through for local access, loading, emergency kind of vehicles, stuff like that. Otherwise, exploring massively widening the pedestrian and potential commercial space along the north edge, and then maybe asymmetrically widening the kind of park spaces fill in. So your sense of arrival can either be this this impressive canopy overhead with lots of shade opportunity, or just kind of the closing in of trees and landscape into the street to make it feel nice and pedestrian scale. I think that's like a good place to take it for now. I think we can move on to the next block and just before we, or do you guys think it would be better to kind of like further develop this before moving on to the next block? We can go either direction. I'll throw it to you guys.
Alice, what do you think? What do you? Maybe we can make a quick collage to envision this, or
yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Let's quick collage it.
So we can work here in this one.
Oh, great.
I start to pass a texture for the sharing space, the pedestrian space. This one.
Yeah, nice.
So we can try to pass a canopy here. And trees.
Yes. And well, if we have the canopy providing shade, we could
look for, yeah.
We could also have some palm trees in there as well.
And if the canopy is green, I don't know.
I'm gonna look for some food trucks.
Oh, awesome. Oh, there's all the people sitting and dining. Awesome. Oh, no problem. So many people.
Sadly.
Oh, no, you're fine. This is awesome that you guys brought in these cutouts. It makes it really easy to work with it.
I don't know what these guys are selling, but that's just for inspiration.
Ice cream. It's definitely ice cream.
Like sausages.
Sausage pretzels. There we go. I kind of like the idea of having the ground plane still be like pretty open. Like, so if it does want to be a festival kind of street, like there's not like huge landscape areas like getting in the way or something like that. Or if you did want to have like a food truck fair, you could drive a bunch of trucks in there and it could still function.
Yeah, it could be a multifunctional space. Actually, it could be also a space for exhibitions, or here we have some sculpture, for example.
Yes.
We can put them here. I mean, it doesn't have to happen everything at the same time, but could be that someday we'll have a kind of event.
Yeah.
And another day, food trucks.
Yep.
And also I like the idea of this street to continue here in order to delete this barrier that the cars are making. So I would kind of remove the step that we have here, the sidewalks.
The curb?
The curb, see, yes. And
yeah.
It could be in continuity.
Mm-hmm. So you could look at
street.
like a similar paving
here
as here.
What I wanted to say.
Cool.
This can actually be bigger. Or
And then I think the other big thing is lighting. This will want to be like that could obviously be incorporated in the shade structure. Maybe the way this street is defined is as like a blank slate pedestrian street is with kind of like planters that could be moved so that like this commercial area could get like a little bit of definition. But then if they wanted to take everything away to do the awesome food truck festival or street carts or whatever, they could just move them out temporarily.
yeah, and also here we have some movable furniture, like these chairs.
Yes.
Could be just left here, and people can move them whenever they want. I can't actually see them.
All right, I'm gonna pretend that these are in planters, though they're not.
Well, you can make a square here.
Perfect. I love it. It's a beautiful planter.
Yeah.
It's the finest.
And you can group also the elements. So
yes.
Now it's a planter.
Oh, nice. We have big planters.
Really nice.
Some of the finest planters in the business.
So they could be like planters with wheels.
Yes.
Really nice.
Somehow defining that edge. Cool. All right, I'm gonna, this feels like it's in a good place. I'm gonna start shifting my attention down to, oh wait, there's a rollerblader. Gotta throw in the rollerblader. Let's see, we've got,
I can't flip this.
oh, is that not a tool? It might not be.
No.
No.
Well, I'll just use Photoshop.
And then whatever kind of this paving surface is, then we'll just kind of continue across the intersection.
I like the idea to have more tourists like these people.
Yes.
That maybe, you know, this kind of project who could bring more people to the city to visit it.
Yeah, and a safe space for kids as well.
And maybe we can add some commerce here, or
some future infill.
What's in this block here?
That's the parking.
That's a parking, so we can transform it in something more useful when the street will become like this pedestrian. Yeah, like that.
Oops.
Also could be on this roof, if it's possible, we can put some greenery. Like this. No, not actual trees, maybe, but something green.
Yeah.
I can't.
A bike sharing station.
What's
maybe
that?
A bike sharing station, maybe near the old parking.
Yeah. That would be especially nice, maybe down. I'm looking back at kind of like the aerial map, some sort of like hub, potentially fill up closer to like Flegler, in that maybe in that open space or near that open space near the street, so that depending on which way, if you've got a bike on a bike share, you could just roll it right in.
Yes.
Right there off the bike path on the waterfront.
But it's impossible to flip, no?
Yeah, that's impossible.
Oh, and this one, no? No.
What else can we add? We can add something digital.
Yes, the digital layer.
What are you thinking when you say digital?
Here we have some ideas. We have, well, the bike sharing, of course, is something digital.
Mm-hmm.
Just with your phone. Or you can have some sensors to detect some, I don't know, something like the temperature to help to improve the climatic condition of the street, so that it can be monitored and improved.
I like the idea of maybe, especially on this walkway side, or on more on the park side, something that could create a cooling, a misting, or something like that. Could even be in the ground. I could just see that having like a playful element for kids or something like that.
Yeah. And when we connect this to digital, we imagine that maybe it could be activated also by the citizens. Could be something like a water feature or something like that.
Yeah.
Connected with an app or something.
Or motions or like,
yes, or
I'm imagining
with sensors.
like something playful, like even like buttons in the landscape that like kids could interact with.
Totally.
Okay, I think this is looking awesome. It's super cool, even if we can't flip the bike share station the other way.
Doesn't matter.
It'll just be over there right now. We'll revise that later. I feel like we can move on to the next block and begin exploring there. But this looks, so to recap it, in case folks are watching and wondering what they just wandered in upon, this is looking at Datura Street between Flagler and Narcissus, where there are already existing commercial functions that are very busy. And our group is looking at how to better create kind of a connected feeling between those businesses and the existing park and open space just south of it. So it's looking at kind of this shared street model with kind of a flat paving surface that can have lots of flexible, movable furniture. So it can be used for commercial function or a festival or food trucks or whatever, as well as kind of a lot of urban cooling devices, whether that's an overhead shade structure or trees, or even kind of more technologically driven cooling devices like misting in the landscape or stuff like that. I think I mostly covered what we explored. All right, cool. Now we're gonna move on for our last 10 minutes on the live webinar. We'll be looking at Olive to Narcissus on Datura. Cool. All right, so similarly, I'm gonna just pull over a larger aerial to the left so we can sketch out on that one.
Okay.
I'm just gonna move all these other things away. Okay, so this is the one that has, what was this one? This one has the parking garage that could be considered for either potential commercial infill or possibly more likely some kind of like green screening or green walling, something. It seems like there's interest to do something very kind of like bold and vertical along the parking garage.
The parking garage is, can we see
this one?
This one, the white one.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we made a test of this part in this collage.
Oh yeah, do you want to?
But we can redo it.
No,
think
let's
that
let's.
is just a test.
I think the thing for this block that we may want to consider is how we could maintain vehicular access through it. Two-way vehicular access, not necessarily, maybe just kind of as like a challenge to see what that might look like. Because I think, well, we'll hear more from like the business owners, but I feel like just maintaining some level of loading access, delivery, as well as potentially some limited parking, whether it's accessible parking for people living with disabilities or something like that, would be nice. So which way is this one looking? I think this image is looking, this is looking to the west. So this is kind of like looking away from the waterfront.
Railway, yes.
Okay.
We can use the other one and do it again with the new ideas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe we can sketch something on the plan.
Yeah, let's start there. Okay. Are you guys on the small plan or the bigger plan to the left? You're on the small plan. I'll join you.
Sorry, no, I was I was
Oh, that's fine. Okay, we're going to the bigger plan on the left.
Okay.
That sounds great. So currently the street is, looks like, it's like 50, 60, it's like 60 to, the actual like curb to curb is 26 plus 8, 34, around 40 feet wide, curb to curb. And so I wonder if we can just kind of, maybe at a maximum, we could explore something that vehicular space is like 2 through lanes of like 10 feet. So 10 and 10. Ooh, that pen's a little big. And then maybe like an alternating parking lane on either side, depending on where demand for parking is. So it never becomes too wide. But then there could be like an intermittent parking lane of 8 feet, which would give us a lot more space to work with in terms of creating pedestrian and commercial space along the street.
Yeah, and what about bike lane? Maybe here. Where is this car?
We could, yeah, we could explore that. I just don't know, like this road doesn't get like a lot of through travel for bikes. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if instead of a bike lane, it would be better served as like, kind of like a broader, because no one's going to go fast on a bike through here. I wonder if like something that's just like a shared pedestrian space that's wide enough to accommodate bikes would get more use. But like a big enough, like kind of throughfare there. Something big. I'm kind of thinking a little bit in my head right now of this street. I don't know if this is a great image. I'm just gonna drop it right in. Once it loads. Something like this one where
yeah, I know this reference. It's like in Canada.
Seattle.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to live right near here.
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's a fun street. And so it's open, it's one way, open for bus travel through, and then only local car access. So people who are directly trying to access residences or businesses on that street. And it has like a very Woo-Nerf kind of feel, because it kind of like undulates the street a little bit, which helps keep everything super slow.
Yeah, I like the idea of this kind of pocket.
See, it's a sharing street, no? And the green look like a rain garden, no?
Yes. And I don't think it's this street, but one of the streets around here has drainage issues at the intersection. So actually, yeah, this intersection has potentially some drainage issues. That's the, see, this is Narcissus and that's Olive. Yeah, so this intersection has drainage issues. So I think really focusing some stormwater stuff close to that intersection would be really nice. Scooch that down a little. Some green stormwatery stuff there. So I like the idea that this street's starting to take shape with oh, I like this precedent. Oh, that's not even a precedent. That's just a street over. This one's this street feels very like undulating to me, where it's got like different uses on different sides. So there's no like preference of one side versus the other, but potentially having the green space kind of shift sides. So we could potentially put some like stormwater stuff near the corners to help with any drainage issues there. And also have on the other side of the street, this big kind of living wall experience. And so I can imagine when you look down the street, it would just have a lot of like depth and balance between the two sides of things happening on both sides.
And why not putting the greenery in the other part, like flipping it? Well, in this picture, it appears like this part of the curve is the most sunny.
Yes.
I don't know actually what time it is in this picture. So.
I'm trying to think of where, sorry, let me just check in with the webinar. I think it's 12 o'clock. So I think this is the end of the first webinar session. So I'm actually gonna end the webinar session. Thank you for everybody who attended. There will be another one in a couple of hours. And all right, I'm gonna end that now. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Great. And then
Um,
Mavi and Alice, we can resume on Google Hangouts.
Okay.
okay.
All right.